What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and this is Podcasting Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love your show like a hobby and build it like a business. Today, I've got my new pod pal, Mariah from the Gradually Well podcast, coming on for a podcast audit jam session. Mariah, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Adam.
All right, let's dig right in. Let's set a goal for our session here. I want to know 6 months from today, things are really picking up for you, built some nice momentum. Paint that picture for me, and then we kind of try to work towards that.
Okay, so ideally 6 months from now, yes, I want a more engaged community like everybody else.
Yeah.
But also, I want to get to the point where I'm comfortable doing the coaching calls or coaching audits like how we're doing here, but on my show. And then lastly, I would love to be creating getting some coaching clients because of the show and
Yeah.
have a solid offer that I'm offering people.
Okay. You're speaking my language already. This is great. Definitely perking my ears up. All right. So what do you feel like are the number one and two things that are holding you back from, getting clients, being able to convert listeners into paying clients right now?
So I think it is honestly, I've been too broad. Like I've had this show, I just hit a year. I started it out of October
Congrats.
last year, but I I need to upload every week. Right now, it's just like I do every other week. I've been consistent with every other week for the last several months, but I'm realizing that that's not enough. So I need to probably do weekly, and then also I'm saying it was just a health and wellness podcast and just kind of giving all the things to all the people. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's actually, I think, slowing me down because people give me feedback, but it's like random. So I have recently in the past few weeks decided to maybe switch gears to focusing on people with chronic illness, living well with chronic illnesses or chronic disease. But I haven't announced that transition. I just did one episode on it last week. And then I'm like, okay, I need to plan my transition into this so that I can really get going with my weekly episodes focused on chronic disease and wellness there.
Okay. I definitely like the way that you're thinking here, Mariah. We're going to be able to help you out today. I'm
Oh,
confident in that.
great.
So it sounds like you're kind of coaching yourself in the right direction here. You just said all the things that I want you to do. Sometimes coming on like a session like this, it's like, and now Adam has granted permission to go for it. It's not a bad idea because a lot of
Mhm.
times, you're a year in, you've been podcasting, you definitely realize how much work it is. And like, there's a
Yeah.
lot that goes into it. And that sometimes stalls us out because we are afraid of like, okay, and now if I rebrand or if I go in this other direction, and what if it doesn't work? And that's even more work. And now I have to backtrack. So that can kind of stall us out. So I want to kind of strip away those fears. I think you are heading in the right direction. So now
Good.
let's start that momentum with our session here today. Um, Weekly content. Let's attack that one first because I think we can kind of knock out two of our checklist check boxes here with one swoop. So weekly content, yes, let's get there, and let's get there with coaching style episodes, like you had mentioned. So,
Okay.
like traditionally, are you doing like a mix of interviews and solos, or what are you doing every other week right
Yeah,
now?
it's all been solos, but then I only have 4 interview episodes
Yeah,
out total.
yeah,
So,
I'm fine with that.
okay.
I'm fine with that. I love expert positioning. If you're trying to do this to get clients, you don't have to do any interviews ever. So that's another thing we can kind of throw out. If you want to do them, you can. If not, I'm not going to make you do interviews at all. So I would like a mix of week 1 solo, week 2 coaching, week 3 solo, week 4 coaching. If you want to toss a interview in there every once in a while, cool, go for it. This is
Mhm.
exactly what I'm doing. This
Okay.
is this is my exact pattern. Okay, so that will help you get to that every week cadence.
Mhm.
Now, coaching style episodes. This is it's something that does take some work up front. Um, you can't expect the experience that you've had with my show. Like we are meeting and talking for the very first time right here, right now. I have
Right.
no idea how you found me, how you signed up for this, like all that. I imagine you probably listened to the show or saw something on social media and then maybe heard one of these episodes. Oh, I'll sign up for that. And then you signed up. Like that's kind of a typical
Mhm.
thing of how it happens for me now. This is not the reality of how I got my first few people to do these episodes. Like we can't
Yeah.
put a casual call to action. You're gonna have to put in some work, like chasing these folks down. Okay. So that's something that
Mhm.
you got to realize. But if your ultimate goal is to convert listeners into clients, it's a great idea. And I think it works 100% of the time, because bringing your listeners onto your show, making them a part of your show, and building expert positioning, that's always good. It's a win for everybody. So what I want you to do is the easiest, like the low hanging fruit with a coaching style episode, is find clients that you've already worked with and kind of do a success story episode. So if you've had some online coaching health clients or whatever that have paid you, or that have worked with you in the past, grab them and do a little 15, and I think in the health space 15 to 20 minutes is pretty good. 15 to
Okay.
20-minute episodes where you kind of unpack their main issue, their main goal that they came to you for, how you attack that, and then the results off the back edge. And then maybe talk about like, and now what's your next goal, and kind of unpack that a little bit, and just start doing those, so that you have that every other week content that you can start filling in and building up that expert positioning. So I'll pump my brakes there. Any questions on that so far?
Yeah, I mean, that helped me get clarity, and I think I like the idea of approaching the coaching calls as like starting with people with success stories, because I feel like sometimes in the health and wellness, well, especially if I'm going to be dealing with people with illness and disease, it can easily get kind of dicey and like, um, I feel like, I mean, people relate to stories, but I never want to feel like I'm exploiting somebody's illness or disease or come off that way. But I like the idea of maybe starting with people having their success stories versus let me help you with your disease in this hard moment of your life right now, because
Yeah.
that's a totally different tone.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, gives me a lot of clarity actually.
Yeah. And then I would just make a very clear call to action on these episodes. Hey, if you would like to do what we are doing right here on this session, then here's where you go. And
Mm,
if you guys listen to any of my Friday episodes, I always say that at the end of these podcast audits. Hey, if you want to be like my pod pal Mariah, here's where you go. And that, just make that very clear in the intro, the outro, the show notes, the social media, any promotion that you do, and just kind of start putting that out there. And I noticed when you signed up, we haven't started building an email list. Is that correct?
right, that's correct.
Okay,
I
so
have not.
this is an opt-in. This will start building your email list, and it's one person at a time. But these are people that are your ideal listeners for the show. So this will help start building your email list once people start opting in that are listening, and you can bring them onto the show. So definitely put the sign up link behind an email opt-in, just like I did for you. Now you're on my email list. Congratulations.
Right.
So is that all making sense too?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of checking off some of these boxes that I like to check off. As far as, moving forward after you get things kind of up and running, like you said, in the health space, one of the things we have to think about with a coaching style episode is not like making it a shameful or like a real negative experience. So
Yeah.
I had a health podcast. That's where I started. And what I would do is I would go, all right, what is your number one goal right now? And what is the number one thing holding you back from that goal? Very similar to what we're doing right here, basically, but it's just in the health space. So it could be, my number one goal right now is to, get my blood pressure down to whatever, and
Mhm.
or lose 20 pounds or whatever it is. And then, okay, what's the number one thing holding you back from that? And a very typical thing, most of my listeners and clients were females, and they'd be like, my husband eats at night and he just puts all this, he tries to guilt me into eating ice cream and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, let's attack that specific pain point, and let's talk about strategies to have you better prepared for that. And
Okay.
or I'm going on vacation and I always lose it on vacation and I really backslide. Okay, let's get you better prepared for that. So it's just kind of let's get you better prepared for that pain point that keeps you backsliding with your health. Maybe it's consistency, and you want them to do some fasting or something like that, and like, I just can't get consistent with it. Okay, well, let's get you better prepared for that. And that's
Mm,
all these 15-minute sessions are. It's just one pain point. You're not going to be able to help them with all of the things in 15 to 20 minutes. It's just, what's the first domino to kick over to create momentum? Does that make sense?
yeah. Yeah, that does.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good, 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 good. Okay, I feel good about this. Um, so with your show branding, niche, specificity, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think we can definitely do a few things with that as well.
Mhm.
Um, Now, Gradually Well, the Gradually Well podcast, like you said, that's kind of like all things.
Yeah.
And I really want to know who it's for. Like I get that
Mhm.
it's a wellness podcast, so I get kind of the what it's about factor, but I would like that to be even more specific. So I like how you were saying chronic illness.
Right.
That's like that's a searchable term. Like I see your ideal listeners putting that in the search bar in Apple and
Mhm.
Spotify. Like they've just been diagnosed. What do? They go look. They go look for information, right?
Yeah.
So we're on WebMD, we're on Google, we're looking for podcasts. Like who's talking about this? How can we educate ourselves? How can we empower ourselves? So we want to be ready and willing to be kind of one of those information sources for them. So I would love to know a little bit more specific with the who it's for, what it's about, and we got to get some keywords in there because you have 0 keywords. Like nobody is searching gradually or well
Yeah.
in that search bar.
Mhm.
So chronic illness, even just things like health, wellness, nutrition, fitness, those words, those types of words need to be in there. So, you know, I like the general framework and you can kind of adapt it to what best suits you, but XYZ tips for X, Y, and Z, or XYZ conversations about X, Y, and Z. And
Mhm.
all those X, Y's, and Z's are keywords, ideally,
Right.
or identifying terms. So, identifying terms do not always have to be keywords. So, an identifying term could be an age group, an ethnicity, an interest group. So, it could be millennials, it could be
Hmm.
women, 40 plus women, mompreneurs, like things like that, and really kind of hone in. So, again, I'll pump my brakes. Any of that hitting home, any words popping up that you think you may want to put into a rebranded title situation?
Yeah, I've been kind of playing with this. I've listened to a few of your episodes with helping people kind of with this. And I was, like everybody, so attached to the initial name. And I was like, okay, well, I'll leave gradually well and add a colon and say living with chronic illness. And I like the living with chronic illness part, but I'm like, does gradually well help? Like, yeah, I feel like that's just extra words, maybe. It's a little catchy, but I don't know that it is necessary. Maybe I can put that somewhere else in branding, like part of my program or whatever. I don't know, but maybe it doesn't need to be the title. Um,
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me give you just some honest feedback.
sure.
And then, it's your brand, your decision. Can we just add a title extension? 100%. And we could do gradually well. Um, I would still like some sort of like XYZ tips for, maybe even gradually well, sub extended title, nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle tips for living with chronic illness. Like
Yeah.
that gets all the words in there.
Yeah, it does. Hmm.
And it's super long, but who cares? Like I tell people, who cares? It does not matter. Like I've got a super long extension to my show. Podcasting business school is not a short title length. It's kind of wordy,
Hmm.
and I got more that goes off that peels off from there. But it works. Like I've got a top 1% podcast because people are finding me.
Right.
So that is it's very very helpful. So we could totally do that now. If you wanted to make it really specific, I would personally recommend getting rid of gradually well so that it's just
Yeah.
like that's still the first thing people are going to see in that title line and
Right.
they may not get to the rest of it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's something to consider. If it's me, I'm scrapping just knowing what I know and all the mistakes that I have made. If it's me personally, I'm scrapping it and going right to the keywords.
Okay.
And but again, I've seen both of these work, but I do like something like depending on what you cover, but nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, health tips for or discussions on living with chronic illness or
Yeah.
thriving with chronic illness. I
Hmm.
like if you can get some of that in there, you're gonna double 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x your downloads just because of that.
That's gonna
Like
be good. Okay.
that's an Adam stamp of approval guarantee. Like that will happen.
Hmm.
I know the health space. I know what words work, and those words will work. And then the next phase of this, we got to look at your art. Because if you do keep gradually well, we got to be careful with the art. All right.
Okay.
So we can't have gradually well eating up all the space. All right.
All right.
I would want that in a different font and kind of, you know, but I want to highlight all those keywords that we just talked about, whatever you go with. And like chronic illness, let's make that like a little bit bigger, highlight different color, because we want to draw eyeballs to that. When they search nutrition tips or something like that, boom, your show pops up and they see chronic illness. Ooh, that's what I'm looking for nutrition tips wise. And I want
Yeah,
their eyeballs drawn directly to that. Does that make sense?
absolutely, absolutely. Mhm.
Okay. So that will help with just general organic growth. That's the easy stuff that we just don't want to get in our own way with letting our ideal listeners find us. So I
Right,
think we get new people listening to you. Now you're leveling up your expert positioning with your coaching style episodes and weekly consistent content. And with your coaching style episodes, we're also able to build an email list a little bit. Now things are cooking, right? Like
right.
now we got some opportunity. Um, so let's maybe talk a little bit. Well, do you have any questions about what we've covered so
No, no,
far?
we're
Okay.
good. Let's keep going.
Okay. So let's talk about making money. All right.
Mhm,
I would I'm very cautious with my calls to action, and I'm very specific with it.
mhm.
So I think we play the long game and we are patient. Okay. So I would say let's try to start grabbing some of these past clients for client success story type episodes and things like that, pulling people in. I mean, even they don't necessarily, if you're like, I'm not sure, I don't know how long you've been coaching or anything like that. So maybe you've got like 5 past clients and you're like, but I know even more people that have had some success, and you can pull them in just to talk about their success, whether they didn't, work with you or not. And you can kind of help them because there's always that conversation of like, oh, what's your main goal that you've had over the last year? How did you achieve that? Okay, what's your next goal? And then you
Yeah.
help them kind of game plan for that. So you can still kind of coach it up a little bit. So
Oh, yeah.
I like that quite a bit. Start building those up, but I would make that your main call to action on your show for like 2 months.
Okay.
Especially, I mean, the time of year that we're in right now, heading
Right.
into the holiday season and heading into New Year's, you could be just gobbling these up. People want this right now.
Mhm.
Like if I was on social, if I was in the health space right now looking to build up some coaching style episodes, my call to action, I'd be on Instagram stories every freaking day going, are you worried about the holiday season? Have you lost your, you know what, every single year during the holiday season? Are you good for 9 months of the year and you backslide for the last 3 and you get right back where you started? Do you want this year to be different? Pop on my show, hit the link and let's sign up for blah, 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 audit,
Right.
whatever you name it. And then just get people signing up for that, but make that your main call to action on your show. And let's just get a whole bunch of these coming in. That way you're like, I'm good every other week. I got to get 2 of these a month. We're good. And
Yeah.
that way you're good there. Then after that, we're establishing your expert positioning. We're building up your kind of personal brand of being a coach. People are now recognizing you as a coach that listen to your show. Next 8 to 12 weeks, I would do a call to action to just do a discovery call with you. A very
Okay.
simple. And the kind of thing we have to finesse is what the heck is the difference between a coaching style episode and a discovery call? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the coaching style episode, like what we're doing right here, like when we are done and we're not recording anymore, I'm not like, and let's talk about working together. Like that doesn't happen. This is not a
Mhm.
sales call. This is not a discovery call. This is a live coaching style episode. And that is all that it is. Now, do I have people that ask me questions about working together? Sure. It happens all the time, but that's not me driven. That's you driven. All right. So when we talk about discovery calls, those are more about let's kind of pinpoint an area that you may be struggling and how I can help you with my services to solve that that pain point basically. So the next 8 weeks you're talking about, and again, I would name it something like my discovery call. I call my podcast profit potential discovery call, where I'm going to spend 20 minutes with somebody. It's not recorded. It's not a podcast episode, but I'll go, hey, here's what we're going to do in 20 minutes. I'm going to diagnose where I think you're leaking profits or you're missing out on money making opportunities with your business game plan with your show. And then, that's just free advice. Then I'll show you how you can take advantage of one of my offers to help you get there, how I can help you get there. And that's what it is. That's the difference between a discovery call and a coaching style episode. So you have to kind of be, you want to name them very different things. This is where we
Right.
don't want like matchy branding at all. We want them like, this is a podcast audit. That's a podcast profit potential discovery call. Two totally different things. But what'll happen is now that you've got authority building up and expert positioning on your show, you're showing off your coaching ability a little bit. And then people start hearing these call to actions. Hey, have you ever thought about getting some help with your blah, blah, blah journey? Sign up for a blah, blah, blah discovery call. I'm going to help you diagnose blah, blah, blah. And if it makes sense, we'll talk about how I can help you out. That's the language that you use, intro and outro. And you will start having people sign up for these and you will get clients.
I see. Okay, great. That's good. You fit in a lot there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a simple formula. People overthink this all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, but what about a 49 email funnel to build out to lead them magically to my doorstep? I'm like, you can do that if you want to. Like, that's a lot of work. And I build email funnels and I do all that. And I've got all that running in the background, but like the boots on the ground stuff is how podcasters, like independent podcasters like you and me, get clients. And we make ourselves available.
Yeah.
Like my greatest ability as a business person is availability. And people can like, you signed up, here we are, we're talking. You listen to the show, boom, let's talk. Like how many, all these big name coaches and stuff, you can't touch them. Like you can't think about like Jillian Michaels, big health podcast.
Yeah.
Can you just sign up for a 30-minute session with her to be on her show?
Absolutely not.
Zero chance. So that's how the smaller independent podcasters win. But the cool thing that, I think we as podcast listeners realize this, but sometimes we flip into podcaster hat people and go, oh, I'm not a big deal. But people that are obsessed with our show think we're a big deal. And it's like the same as Jillian Michaels. Like, wow, I listened to Jillian Michaels and then I listened to Mariah's podcast right after that the next day. And it's like the same thing. But you're available and she's not. So you win. And they're going to hire you. They're not going to do some super expensive program that you don't even get to talk to Jillian Michaels where they can work directly with Mariah and you can be their boots on the ground person. Make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Quick recap. Let's work on the name. Let's tweak that up, get some keywords in there. I want it more specific of who it's for and what it's about. Then let's get the coaching style episodes, start out with like success story type episodes and build up from there every other week. So we get weekly content, expert positioning. You're going to really crush it with that. Call to action, coaching style episode for about 8 weeks or 8 episodes. And then the next 8 to 12, all calls to action to discovery calls and start making money. And then email me and be like, Adam, I'm rich. Thank you.
That sounds good to me.
Adam, I just pulled up in my Lambo and I need to start requesting like the license plate needs to be like THX Adam or something like that.
Right.
On your podcast Lambo. All right. I want to make sure that you get to shout out your brand, your website, your social. If there are people out there listening that maybe they want to do your coaching style episode and come on your show or just check out your show and support you, where do they go?
Yeah. Podcast is everywhere you listen to podcasts. It's called Gradually Well right now, but definitely follow me on Instagram or TikTok. It's Mariah Shante. That's MariahChante. And I'll be there. My DMs are open.
All right. DMs open for business. All right.
For business.
There we go. All right, Mariah, I appreciate you coming on. And for everybody that's listening in, if you want to come on for a podcast audit, just like my pod pal Mariah, and you want to, head over to the main website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. Get signed up, and I will see you on the show. And that, Pod Pals, is it for this episode. I'm going to send you off into the world, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.